All right, so get this. Peace talks are happening for the war in Ukraine, but Ukraine isn't even there.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. We're going to do a deep dive today on some news and commentary that's floating around online to try and figure out what's going on with these secret negotiations between the U.S. and Russia.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
I think so. I'm really interested to see what you think about all this. So, like, what are their motives? And what could this mean for the future of global diplomacy?
Yeah, no kidding. It's a pretty fascinating situation, to say the least, especially when you think about, the potential consequences for smaller nations caught in the middle of these power plays.
Yeah, totally. So we found this quote from this Finnish parliamentarian named Mika Aaltola. He's claiming that the U.S. has given Europe this 3-week ultimatum to accept Ukraine's surrender.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? It's kind of crazy. So if that's true, what are we even talking about when we say surrender? What would those terms even look like?
Right. That's a great question. It's like the million-dollar question, isn't it? The thing is, though, Aaltola doesn't actually say where he got this information. So we're kind of left to speculate. But it does make you wonder why the U.S. would be pushing so hard for a quick resolution.
Yeah.
Even if it means leaving Ukraine out of the process.
Absolutely. And here's another weird thing. These talks are happening in Saudi Arabia.
Interesting.
Of all places. Why there?
Well, you have to admit it's a pretty strategic choice. Saudi Arabia has these close ties with the U.S., right?
Right.
But they're also being super careful about maintaining their relationship with Russia, too.
Because of oil?
Exactly,
Yeah.
especially because of the whole oil market situation. They've been trying to present themselves as this neutral mediator in global conflicts for a while now. This could be their chance to really solidify that role.
So they're like the Switzerland of the Middle East.
Kind of, yeah. But, okay, so getting back to Aaltola, he also claims that Trump is prioritizing Russia's security concerns over everything else in this whole deal.
Which is kind of alarming, to say the least.
Yeah, I'd say so. That raises some serious questions, like what is the motivation behind that approach?
Yeah. What is the end game?
Exactly.
Wow.
Like, is it some calculated move to prevent an even bigger conflict?
Even if it means Russia gets what it wants?
Yeah, basically. Or are there other factors involved that we're just not seeing? Like maybe economic or political factors?
Oh, totally. And, I mean, think about the message that sends to all of the U.S. allies around the world.
Right.
Does that just totally undermine their trust in U.S. commitments?
It's definitely not a good look.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
So to top it all off, Aaltola ends his whole statement with this super cryptic line.
Oh, yeah, I read that. What was it again?
He says, "We have 3 weeks to grow up."
We have 3 weeks to grow up.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think he meant by that?
I have no idea. I mean, it could be interpreted in so many ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Like maybe he's calling for European unity. Like he's urging them to stand up to the U.S. And actually forge their own path forward. Or maybe it's more like a nudge for Europe to start developing more military independence so they're not always relying on the U.S. for security.
I see what you mean.
It really makes you think about what it would even look like for Europe to grow up in this situation.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like, would it mean that they start taking a more assertive stance in international relations?
Interesting.
Or maybe they need to completely rethink their defense strategies. It's definitely something worth considering.
Oh, absolutely. And it also brings up another really critical question. If peace is being negotiated without Ukraine having any say in it, what does that tell us about the future of diplomacy?
Right. Like, where does that leave everyone else?
Exactly. Does it set this dangerous precedent where powerful nations just get to dictate the terms? Or could this be a new, maybe controversial, but still new avenue for mediating complex conflicts?
It's hard to say. It's definitely a lot to unpack, and the whole situation is just so murky.
Definitely.
But one thing's for sure, these secret negotiations have the potential to completely reshape the global landscape.
Yeah.
And we probably can't even predict all the ways yet.
Absolutely not. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
You know what else is crazy about all this?
What's that?
I feel like this whole thing is just going to keep getting more and more complicated.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Like we just scratched the surface there.
Oh, yeah. There's so much more to uncover.
I know. And it makes you wonder how these behind-closed-doors deals impact not just the countries involved,
but the whole world.
Exactly. And what does it say about the balance of power when these massive decisions are being made without any input from the people who are actually most affected by them?
It's a question we all need to be asking ourselves. And it's something for all of us to think about as we watch this situation unfold.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, there you have it, folks. Another deep dive in the books.
Make sure to check back in next week when we'll be tackling
Who knows what?
Only time will tell.
That's the truth.
All right. Everyone, until next time.
Stay curious.